Hello. Hello and welcome. Today I want to talk about Sara Hurwitz specifically. I know the news cycle has moved on from this at a lightning pace. This happened 2 months ago, so in terms of like news cycle age, this story is like dead and buried. Like why I'm even talking about it, making a video about it, is it's like so old by now. But honestly, ever since I've seen the clip, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. And when I did see the first clip, I could not stop watching videos about people talk about it because it's insane that we have video of a liberal Zionist talking points that um, are so clear that feel like it wasn't meant to be shared because it's like incriminating almost. But I've been seeing people talk about it and I feel like a lot of points are being missed and I feel like no one's reading in between the lines of what she's saying because what she said was so people said what she said was so insane that it left them speechless, but honestly watching it I was like, yeah, this tracks with how Zionism views what's happening in Palestine and Gaza. Um, I don't know, even the people's reaction to it being so stunned, I was like, why are you guys so stunned? And it's because no one, I feel like, was paying attention before October 7. Because I don't think people have such short um, memory because I don't think people remember how explosive it was to talk about Palestine before October 7. Like it was you and me, like even now people are scared to talk about it, but before October 7, talking about Palestine and saying in any way Palestinians were right to have a claim to their land and that what Israel is doing is absolutely atrocious, not just the genocide that they're carrying out, but the slow genocide that they've been carrying out, and the fact that their end goal is ethnic cleansing and that their state is an apartheid state. Any of those statements before October 7th would have been, would make people scared that you're talking about it. They'd be like, why are you talking about it? Like, shh. Now people are not scared that you're saying it. They might get annoyed because they're like, why are we talking about this? Yeah, whatever. Palestinians are dying, so what? But there's a difference. There's a difference between people being scared, even that you're saying it, versus just annoyance. And this mainstream shift that is happening has scared a lot of Zionists. And Sara Hurwitz is one of them. And I want to break down her clip, like literally second by second, because people are not reading in between the lines of what she's saying because every second she says something so crazy that they need to react to it. But again, the whole clip itself just seems like something that usually would not have been made public, period. Okay, let's look at the clip. I'm gonna screen record and try and put it on the screen. We'll see. Okay. Hopefully you guys can't hear that outside. Anyways, let's go literally clip by clip. I have my list of things to go through. Okay. Let's listen to the first part.
that since October 7th, but really before then, there have been huge shifts in America on how people think about Jews and Israel. And I think that is especially true of young people. So we are now wrestling with a new, I think, generational divide here. And I think that's particularly true.
I just want to pause and comment on that. You know, she's saying, like, there's a huge shift after October 7th, and that's what I was talking about earlier, is that before October 7th, if you even dared, and you know, a lot of people did, before October 7th, it wasn't like there was no one speaking up about, you know, the rights of Palestinians and how they're being trampled against every day. There was a lot of people speaking about it and have been since the inception of Israel, but before October 7th, it was not mainstream.
True in that social media is now our source of media. And this, you know, it used to be that the media you got in America was American media, and it was pretty mainstream. You know, it generally didn't express extreme anti-Israel views.
Okay, so here she starts talking about social media, and the argument she's trying to make is, or that she's starting to make is, oh my god, mainstream media has now adopted a not pro-Israel stance. And she's starting to set up an argument why that is worse than the genocide that is happening right now in Gaza. In Gaza,
You had to go to a pretty weird bookstore to find global media and fringe media.
You had to go to a pretty weird bookstore to find global media and fringe media. So, yes, to find arguments against the state of Israel and what they are doing to the Palestinian people, you would have to go not to weird bookstores, though. You could literally just go to any bookstore and you could get books by Edward Said and Fanon? I don't know. Just like anti-colonial, anti-imperialist philosophers of that time and scholars who were talking about it. But she's right. It was not mainstream. You had to go seek it out yourself. It was not a mainstream view. French. And she's also trying to paint it in a negative light. That she's trying to paint global media as both fringe and negative. So interesting. What is she trying to say by that? This is what I mean by trying to read in between the lines of what she's saying, because a lot of people are skipping over these parts to the other parts that she says, which the clip just gets crazier, but a lot of people are skipping over the parts where she's trying to paint this narrative that I think can be picked apart pretty easily, but she just makes so many so fast that you don't have time to pick it apart. And that's why I'm pausing the video after every single word she's saying, because I see what she's trying to do, and I need other people to also see what she's trying to do, and I think most people did. Anyways, global media is bad and fringe. Which, the next part.
But today, we have social media, which is a global medium. Right? It is shaped, its algorithms are shaped by billions of people worldwide who don't really love Jews.
Two things. Social media is a global media. Somebody else also said this, but it's like she's nostalgic for old media. She's nostalgic for a time when media was controlled by media conglomerates, and those in power could control what the masses were privy to, which is very undemocratic or very unliberal. It's not a liberal mindset. But yet she was a speechwriter for Obama and whoever else. And then the second thing is doesn't really love Jews. I don't usually like making this argument that Israelis and Zionists are drowning in victim mentality, but they make it for me. Like, this is not really my concern how they view themselves, because I see the outcome of what they're doing in Palestine. I'm like, it's wrong. Whether you believe yourself a victim or not, it's wrong what's happening. But their language, the language they use, is interesting to me. Especially this clip. And usually I don't find clips of Zionists talking very interesting, because usually it's very delusional to a point that it doesn't even make sense to go over. But she is being very clear, and that's what I think is very interesting. And what's very clear is this victim mentality of like, oh, everybody hates us. Yeah, girl, I don't know if you've realized, but we live in a very racist judgment. Like, we live in a society, but like, just the way she's framing it is like anti-Jew, like, and this will tie into later, but her language is very anti inclusionary, like in terms of, a lot of activist spaces I've been in, we really try to tie our causes together, because we realize that when one community is targeted, the rest of the communities either will follow, or it's just, we have empathy, we have solidarity with each other. And this mentality of, oh, the whole world hates Jews, the whole world hates everything. And if we don't stand together against hate and injustice, what are we doing? Like, your cause is not my cause, but then you expect everyone to be behind your cause. That's not how it works.
And so while in the 1990s, a young person probably wasn't going to find Al Jazeera or someone like Nick Fuentes.
And now she's trying to compare Al Jazeera to Nick Fuentes, which other people have pointed out. One is a internationally recognized media, like respected medium, and the other is a Nazi who is trying to rebrand himself because he's realizing Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, whatever, they're getting a lot more views than him.
Today, those media outlets find them. They find them on their phones. It's also this increasingly post-literate media, less and less text, more and more videos.
AKA primary sources. This argument of like, oh my God, everybody is so dumb and no one's reading anymore and all they're doing is watching videos. It could sound logical, and that's the other thing, is a lot of this is trying to sound as logical as you can, but you're talking out of your ass. Because it sounds logical, like, oh, everybody's just watching videos now. But this is ignoring context and ignoring history. Yeah, it's horrific, and people are waking up to the fact that what's going on is horrific because of these videos and photos people are seeing, just as what happened in, for example, the Vietnam War. Like, if it wasn't for those photos coming out to the American public, the anti-war movement might have not have gotten as big as it did.
So you have TikTok just smashing our young people's brains.
TikTok smashing our young people's brains, but I don't give a fuck about the actual people who are actually having their heads smashed in. Sick.
All day long with video of carnage in Gaza. And this is why so many of us can't have a sane conversation with younger Jews, because anything that we try to say to them, they are hearing it through this wall of carnage. So I want to give data and information and facts and arguments, and they are just seeing in their minds carnage, and I sound obscene.
It's so tiring. It's so tiring. I sound obscene. I made some notes here about how this major shift since October 7th is also not just from an anti-Israel standpoint, but also people who are pro-Israel, because now they are realizing they can no longer deny what Israel is doing. Before, even during these past almost 3 years now of genocide in Gaza, there was an argument being made on social medias by Israelis that, oh, these are all actors. What is happening in Gaza is not even real. Like, it's all being exaggerated. And if you look up the term Pallywood, it's like really sick stuff where they're like, these people are just actors, and they're just, because they understand that controlling the narrative is the most important part. They don't care to stand up against injustice. They just care about the narrative. They don't care about anything else. They don't care that people are being hurt. They just care about the narrative, and they care about it so much. So yeah. So it's interesting to see the shift that they actually are even acknowledging the wall of carnage. And other people that have talked about this clip were losing it over the fact that she was just casually being like, wall of carnage of Palestinian to children, like, whatever, move on. Like, that's like, she's just using like a mass atrocity to make a point. Yeah.
And, you know, I think, unfortunately, the very smart, bet that we made on Holocaust education to serve as anti-Semitism education, in this new media environment, I think that is beginning to break down a little bit. Because, you know, Holocaust education is absolutely essential. But I think it may be confusing some of our young people about anti-Semitism because they learn about big, strong Nazis hurting weak, emaciated Jews.
So what's interesting about this comment is where she says, we made a smart bet on Holocaust education. Who's we? And what do you mean we made a smart bet on Holocaust education? This part was kind of crazy to me because I feel like it's a very anti-Semitic trope to be like, oh, the Jews are in charge of X, Y, and Z, because that was the argument used in the first place for the Holocaust. So, like, I was actually kind of shocked that I wasn't shocked because Zionists say crazy things that are anti-Semitic. Zionists are anti-Semitic. So I wasn't shocked that she said it, but I was kind of like, this is the other thing what I mean between reading in the lines, because people also skip over this part, because I'm like, but what does she mean by that? Because she is not, and this pains me to say, she's not a dumb person, you know, like, she was a speechwriter for, like, the sentences that she's using, she means them, and she means something behind them. And in looking at what other people have said, people have talked about how this, like, for example, like Norman Finkelstein he talked about how the Holocaust education is primarily used to launder and manufacture consent for Israel's actions. And Naomi Klein was talking about how it wasn't really until the 80s that, you know, Holocaust education was really like cemented, like it was something that was planned on. It wasn't like, oh, this is a really bad thing that happened, we should teach about it in history. It was like, no, we need to teach about this in history so that the American people will accept or support our money to Israel. And this is different from the education that Jewish kids receive, because that is a whole other topic.
And they think, oh, anti-Semitism is like anti-Black racism, right? Powerful white people against powerless Black people.
This was the craziest thing that she said. Like, pause. Like, actually, this is the whole reason I even wanted to make this video, where she says, and, you know, the people are taking this, like, lesson from the Holocaust that, like, oh, they're, like, tying it to other things, like anti-Blackness. And she skips up over this really quickly and she dives into a different point. And that's why I have to pause after every word she says, because she just says something and moves on. And I'm like, no, but what she just said actually kind of angered me, because she's saying that it's wrong to make this comparison, that I know I'm making a leap here, but she's basically against solidarity movements. Like, this is very anti-solidarity movements. To be like, I can't believe people are learning about the Holocaust and trying to tie it to other things like anti-Blackness, like the genocide in Gaza is wrong. Also, like, it's just so strange because nobody was talking about Black people. This is like a conference. The Jewish Federation of North America. I never even knew. Well, it's not that I knew that they would have these conferences, but it's kind of obvious that, like, okay, yeah, they need these to have these like conferences where they get together and rehash all their points so that they can send out their talking points to everyone. And that's the other crazy part where I'm like, they posted this clip. It wasn't like somebody took it and was like, oh my God, look what they're saying behind the scenes. They posted it. And everybody was like, no, actually, everything you just said was insane. Anti-Semitic. What did I write down? I just wrote down the fact that she brought up Black people out of nowhere and was like, I can't believe people are trying to tie this to other causes. That's what she's saying, right? She's not saying like, oh, they're learning that being anti-Semitic is wrong, and then being also anti-Black is wrong, but we can't apply it to Palestinians. That's not what she's saying. She's saying that you can't apply this to any other group, period. This is why we don't learn about Holocausts that have happened in Africa, like King Leopold, like Belgium. Wait, was it the Congo? What did King Leopold, Belgium, killed millions in Africa, but which? Congo. It was the Congo. That's the reason we don't learn about any other atrocities that happen in the world, because it doesn't help the narrative, apparently. Okay, let's continue. So when
So when on TikTok all day long they see powerful Israelis hurting weak, skinny Palestinians, it's not surprising that they think, oh, I know, the lesson of the Holocaust is you fight Israel. You fight the big, powerful people hurting the weak people.
Oh, that's the lesson. And that's the other thing too about this clip that is fascinating to me, is that she's making an argument, but she's also like not saying it. Everybody was like, oh, she's saying the quiet part out loud. And I'm like, there's a lot she didn't say that I guess that's the point, is that everything that she didn't say, she kind of did say in her thing. But it's like, what is your argument that you're trying to make here? And the argument is the lesson from the Holocaust was not supposed to be, oh, we should stand against, the powerful bad guy hurting the like weak people. The lesson was supposed to be, it's okay for Israel to commit genocide, ethnic cleansing, and apartheid and anything else it wants to because of the Holocaust, which is the specific event that, like, the discrimination that Jews experience is only the Jews experience. Nobody else on this entire world has experienced discrimination like Jews had. Like, I feel crazy even saying like that's not true, because that's very clear and very obvious. Yeah, I wrote down like the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles, when they posted never again, shouldn't mean never again only for Jews. They were bullied by Jews into taking it down because that's not the lesson here. My two big takeaways that I've been thinking about since I saw this video have been, number one, the fact that she's not arguing against Holocaust education, she's arguing against the conclusion that people have come to that leads people to empathize with other communities, such as Black Americans and, not said, but Palestinians. And then the second thing is, Sara Hurwitz is not like an Israeli senator or an Israeli congressperson, which if you look up the things those people say, that will truly shock you. Sara Hurwitz is an American speechwriter for somebody like the Obamas, which apparently the thing that she's most credited for, which is Michelle Obama's line about when they go low, we go high, or whatever. Apparently she didn't even write that. Michelle Obama came up with that, so it's like, what did she even... I don't know. It's kind of crazy. The thing that most people are pointing to, like, oh, she wrote that. She didn't even write that. She was just an aide and a speechwriter for them. But her role and liberal Zionist role in the Democratic Party at large, her video coming out was like a bad PR day, and I want it to never end. Which is why I'm making this video again, because I'm like, these statements are not something that I personally can move on from. The media cycle certainly has. I'm not someone, I think, that my goal is to report on every single news thing that happens daily, but things... there are some things that pop up that are just so clear that I spend a lot of time reading about. And I'm not the best speaker, but if this is one more extra video you can get that just to document what Sara Hurwitz said, then I am happy to make this video.